Hello, everyone. Welcome to our little chat here. I am Miss Katie, that vegan teacher. I'm in Italy right now, and my guest today is Dr. Faraz Harsini. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
So, Dr. Faraz, can I just call you Faraz?
Yes, of course.
Okay, great. Dr. Faraz, you are an ethical vegan.
I sure am. Yes.
That's great. So, you're not just vegan because you're a doctor and it's not just for health. You also do have a little bit of love for the animals or for justice. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct. And I also think that it's not just about loving animals because you don't even have to love animals to recognize harming somebody is wrong. A lot of people tell me that, I just don't care about animals. And I think that's something. You may not care about animals. There are a lot of people that we don't care about necessarily, but we still recognize harming them is wrong. So you don't have to even have that emotional connection, which I certainly do with certain animals. But the only thing that we need to recognize is that hurting animals is wrong. And if somebody recognizes that, we are already on the same page. I think the biggest success of animal industry has been that they completely disconnected the idea of animal abuse from animal consumption, that everyone is against animal abuse until it comes to animal consumption, and they say, well, as long as you eat the animals, it's not animal abuse. And I think that's the biggest success of animal industries, which is something we need to be talking about so people can see that there are basically two sides of the same coin.
Right. So coming up on June 27th, 2023, it will be 7 years for me being vegan and my husband as well. He trailed by, I think, a day or something, very quickly jumped on board when he saw the documentaries. So what about you?
It's actually June 3rd for me as well, which I actually changed my birthday to June 3rd because I
Oh, yeah,
figured
I
in
heard
my
about that.
yeah, I
That
figured
is
in my
so
birthday,
cool.
actual birthday, I didn't do anything except I got dragged out of my mom. So
You just
that's not really
screamed
that
and
impressive.
who knows?
But I think June 3rd was 10 years ago in 2013 was basically a day that I made a decision by myself. I think for the first time, I got rid of all the indoctrination, all the cognitive dissonance, speciesism, everything that I was born with, or not born with, but like the
Yeah.
indoctrination by society, by parents. I said no to all of that. I knew
Hmm.
that I had respect for animals, but I never aligned my actions with my values.
Hmm.
And I loved meat so much. I loved meat so much. I remember I told myself there is no way I would ever go vegan or vegetarian even. But
Right.
June 3rd was the day that I went out with my friends. I got falafel, and one of my friends actually had chicken. So he had chicken with a fork. He just like held it in front of my face and said, "Grab a bite." And I gave it like a, I don't know, I think I was staring at the fork for 2 minutes, like good guy, bad guy here. They were just like, eat it, don't eat it. I
Yeah.
stared at that fork for way longer than I should have. And then finally said, no, thanks, I'm vegetarian. At the time, I just didn't even know about eggs and dairy. So, but that was the
Yeah.
beginning of the biggest decision I've made, the most important decision I've ever made. And
Right. And
after
how
that,
old were you then?
I think it was about 22, 23
Okay.
back then. Yeah.
Right. And how old are you now, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm 33, almost.
Okay, so the same age as my daughter.
Wait, actually, yeah, I suppose 34. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you forget. My husband and I were just saying the other day, like, when you get older, you just kind of forget. Like, especially if you change your birthday, that's a big hump.
Yeah, yeah, the other birthday when I popped out of my mom, that's May, so I don't even pay attention. I also love to confuse people because on Facebook it says that it's my birthday on June 3rd. So a lot of people reach out, and then I use that as an opportunity to say, so are you vegan? And then they regret telling me happy
Hmm.
birthday. So
Right. Well, I do this thing where I, you know about born again Christian, right? Stuff like that. And, there's this whole discussion about, should we talk about veganism in terms of religion in a sense, because it really is an ethical thing. And most people say, no, we're not going to go there. But I do kind of feel like people are, I came up with this idea that people are born vegan. Everyone is born vegan. And I tell everyone that you were born vegan because you never wanted to hurt animals. And then people always say, but what about you drank your mother's milk? So haha. It's like, well, that is obviously vegan because it is given freely and not stolen. And so I say to people, you should just go back and be born again as a vegan. Like you are basically, you're born this way. And so I go into the LGBTQ community a bit and I say to them, you're born this way and that's the way you are. And we all know it. You can't change. Well, vegans are born vegan. They never wanted to hurt animals. They were born with compassion in their hearts and they've just tuned back into that. That's all. And everyone, I'm sure you've said the same thing too, that when you put a little child in a room with a rabbit and a banana, the child will never try to take a bite out of the rabbit. Would just be like petting the rabbit. And so I guess we agree on that.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. Hey, I can't help but notice the piano behind you. And I like to write little rinky-dink songs. Like, I'm not the greatest singer or anything, but I have a whole bunch of little ones on Spotify that I put in my different videos. Do you ever compose anything?
I'm a good player. I have some compositions, but it's mainly just playing music. Yeah. I work as a pianist and organist and bagpiper. I play multiple instruments, but
Okay. Well, I like the piano and the
thank
organ,
you.
but the bagpipes, I can't stand them. I just really
You're
hate.
not
To me,
alone.
all I just hear is like a vacuum cleaner, like the whole time, and then I don't really hear anything else. I know there's other stuff going on, and people get mad at me. How can you hate them? You must love them. And I'm like, it's not against the kilts or anything. Like the kilts are fine. Like, just don't like the sound. Speaking about sound, yeah, people eat animals, taste pleasure. If we knew that there was somebody on earth who liked to hear them scream, we would think they were crazy.
Yes,
That was
absolutely.
the reason to kill them, right? And then we talk about sight. If somebody liked to see animals in pain and bleeding, we would think they were absolutely a psychopath, and we would be terrified to be around somebody like that. And yet, sight and hearing are so close to taste. And we say, oh, that's okay if you just like to kill them for the taste. What do you think about that?
The excuses that we bring up to justify hurting animals, we would never do that for any other form of injustice, and we would never do that even with other animals. Like no one says that, oh yeah,
Oops, sorry about that.
No worries.
There you are.
No one ever says that I'm so hungry. We have to have proteins. Therefore, let me have my companion animal. We need B12. Let me eat my dog. We are actually carnivore, and so I mean, it's funny because people go out of their way. They literally spend money to make sure their dog is okay. You find people like all the time they see ducks walking across the street. They stop cars, make sure ducks cross. They find an injured bird. They help them. Like, these are not things that a carnivorous animal would do. A carnivorous animal, to me, when they see roadkill, they're like, oh, yummy. They stop. If we were carnivores, when we go to parks, we would just run for like squirrels and ducks and geese. But obviously, we actually go to nature. We enjoy seeing birds. We enjoy other animals. We have companion animals. We enjoy their company. And we never look at roadkill and be like, oh, that looks tasty. And we don't even have the physiology to really consume meat raw and spoiled. If we eat spoiled meat, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Lions and obligate carnivores, they're not that picky. They have the tools. First of all, they have the ability to hunt, to kill another animal, and digest everything, like the skin, the fur, the bones. Here we
Eyes,
are, we
everything.
have to pay someone else to do it, not in front of us. We can't even stand like watching the footage, most people at least. We have to have someone else do it for us, remove all the skin and everything. The only tool that we actually have to be able to hurt animals is our intelligence. So because of our intelligence, we come up with tools, we come up with factories and knives and different methods to kill animals. And I say if we have this tool available to us, which is our intelligence, and we could come up with better ways to live, why not using our intelligence in more compassionate ways? Throughout our intelligence, we also have grocery stores. We have all these fantastic plant-based foods.
Yeah.
Throughout intelligence, you have all these vegan restaurants that you can go. So why looking at it as a tool to hurt animals when you can use it in a more compassionate way?
Yeah. What do you think is going on when people tell you, well, look at these fangs that I have? And you look at their teeth and you're like, I don't see any fangs. Like what is your hypothesis about how, like, it's just like you're talking to a zombie. Like it's like showing them, I don't know, like just showing them a cup and you say, what's this? And they say it's a car or something. Like, can you not see? Like, and I know that teeth doesn't really necessarily affect that. There are some herbivores with fangs, but what is going on with people? Like, do you think that they're just like, they honestly seem to believe, they honestly seem to be seeing, and like they're sharp fingernails, and it's like, what are you talking where? Like,
So I
what do
don't
you think
actually
is
think
going
these are
on?
genuine. I don't think these are actually genuine. I think these are more like
Okay.
deflection and methods to resist. In order to understand that you should go vegan, the most important part is that you have to face the reality, which is your current lifestyle is harming animals needlessly. And no one really wants to admit that, because then you're like, oh, so are you telling me that my parents were wrong, the society, everyone is wrong, and I've been like harming animals that I otherwise say I love this whole time? So it's either facing that or just trying to resist. And of course, evolutionarily, we've been evolved to not want to change, because change meant that we probably died. So those people who changed new things probably meant that they died. So we are there is a reason that there are habits, because habits kept us alive. So
Yeah.
there is
And being
literally
part
a
of the gang,
physiological
being part
system
of a
that we
group.
don't want to change.
Yeah.
So and I think these are not genuine reasons. A lot of times people have already heard just like one side of story, and they're just like repeat things. Like another famous one is like they say going vegan is expensive, and all you have to do is ask them, how so? What have you eaten? What have you tried? And a lot of times they don't know because they haven't tried. They just heard that going vegan is expensive, or we must have meat. They just repeat things. A very good test for that is, when they say, oh yeah, vegans also kill animals during the crops harvest and all that. They make it sound like the reason they're not vegan is because they care about animals almost. But to the test to realize whether these are genuine or not is to just ask them, uh, assume that that wasn't the problem. Like assume that we weren't, you didn't think that we are carnivore. Would you go vegan then? And a lot of times they would still say no, because they try to just come up with the next excuse. And at the end of the day, it's just because we love the taste of meat.
It
At the
is.
end of the day, it's about the taste, it's about the convenience. We have this big bias. This is this is like a thought experiment I invite people to do. Like
Okay.
imagine you actually hated the taste of meat. You
Right.
didn't like it. Would you
Any of it.
say that you eat meat? Yeah, you just shove meat in your face just because you're worried about like crop's death. Like the only reason you eat meat is just because I don't know, you're worried about insects or like plants. Like plants have
Mhm.
feelings, therefore like I'm just like shoving meats in my. Of course not. It's always
Right.
about the taste. So let's be
Can you
honest.
talk
Let's
a little?
first accept that, and then
Can you talk a little bit about that crop death thing when people say that? Like, I don't know if you followed, but Joe Rogan was talking to this guy, and like millions of people saw. Do you know who Joe Rogan is? And he was talking,
yes.
I think it was to Ted Nugent, and then people spliced it, and it was all over TikTok. Um, and they were going on about how you kill all these, and so many people just believe it and don't think and don't. There's so few of us vegans to try to explain that point. How would you explain that point to my viewers today here about the crop deaths, and to basically dismiss that? And first talk about
I
what does
mean,
that mean. A lot of people don't really know what that, when I say crop deaths. Do you want to just explain everything?
sure. So basically, the idea here is that during harvesting crops that are used for plant-based foods as well, so vegetables, fruits, etc., soy and corn mainly, a lot of animals die throughout the harvest process, and tractors or pesticides and everything. So a lot of insects, a lot of animals die throughout the process. Um,
Would we
there
say
are a
a
couple
lot?
of
What is, do we need to say a lot, or can we just say it's a fact that some die? Like, what is a lot, and how do we know how many of them
That's
ran
a
off to
good,
other fields? And
yeah, that's a good point. To me, one
animals,
animal is already a lot, but I guess if you compare that to the number of animals that we actually kill in factory farming, which was my next point,
yeah.
is
I guess
it's gonna
when I
be
hear you say,
insignificant.
when I hear you say a lot, I imagine a viewer thinking, you're just picturing the field just filled with mice and squirrels and chipmunks, and it's not. I mean, they hear the machines coming, the
You're
ground
right.
rumble. There, I would say, unfortunately,
I guess I
some.
was saying to them, they say like a
Mhm.
lot of animals die, but in
Right.
reality, it's some animals and some insects, but like compare the number with number of animals we kill,
Mhm.
like in order of trillions if you count fish. It's not gonna even stand to that scale.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of things that are incorrect about that kind of argument. One being that the assumption is that vegans say that they don't cause any suffering at all, which is not that. That's not what veganism is about. It's reducing needless suffering as much as practical and possible. And of
Mhm.
course, there is a problem there. As a vegan, I don't say that that is not a problem, and that's something that we should be solving as well. But if you are a genuine person, come our side, become vegan, and then help us to come up with better technology for agriculture that even
Yeah.
reduces the harm further. But the solution to stop that is not eating animals. And here is why also. The most logical reason is most of the crops, most of soy, corn, and other crops that we are growing are actually meant to feed animals because those animals have to eat something. So in fact, that's an argument to go vegan, not against veganism. So if you really care about all the crops that means that if you go vegan, we will need fewer plants, and that just means by definition fewer crops death. Not to mention that animal agriculture and animal farming causes deforestation. It causes species um,
Extinction.
extinction and so many other problems that come with it. But the whole idea that there is a problem here, therefore um, that justifies me doing this, is just the fallacy. And
Mhm.
when you really put it in real life, it becomes really disgusting. Honestly, it's like, yeah, because there are pesticides used that cause insects die during harvest or throughout agriculture. That
Mhm.
gives me the right to enslave animals since birth, rape dairy cows, take away their babies and send them to slaughterhouse and milk them, treat them like objects, and
Yeah,
at the end of
it's
the day kill
crazy.
them. All of that just because we use pesticides, right?
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking back to what you said before about when people make up excuses like look at my fangs, or some people on TikTok. I'm still on TikTok. I don't know if you know, but I had nearly 2 million followers there, and my account was taken down by all kinds of people who reported crazy things. Like I would film my dog and they would report it for nudity, like just weird stuff was happening. And
Wow.
even now, sometimes I get videos taken down for absolutely no reason. But over on TikTok, it's generally a younger audience. And I feel compelled to be there because there are just not many, let's say, I don't want to exaggerate, but not many sane adults there who are guiding these kids. And they are the next generation. So even though I get a lot of abuse over there, I mean, the comment section's brutal. Like, I feel the need to stay there to talk to these people. And this is the kind of stuff that kids say. So they say things like, you shouldn't be drinking water because that's a fish's home. And they say things like that. And you just like when you say that you don't know that you believe what they're saying, I think these children actually believe these things, or teenagers, because it just, I don't know, it's just so happens so often. It's all the same repetitions. And so I don't really know the best way to reach people. And I think that some adults really just, I think what it comes down to, I mean, my feeling, and it's sad to say this, but I think since becoming vegan and an activist, especially on TikTok in the last few years, is that I've come to the conclusion that if you ask the question, are people genuinely more good than bad? I've asked myself that question since I was a teenager. And at this point, it's unfortunate, but I would say that I'm hopefully it'll change, thanks to good people like you who are going to give hope to the world. But I feel like there's just a lot of cruel people in the world, and it's so hard to reach people. I mean, I saw you doing an interview with somebody, I don't know who it was, but just briefly, who was saying that he used to go and try and save cats and dogs, but then he would eat chickens and all this stuff, and just was mean and would wave chicken and like in people's faces, like be super vegan phobic, just something else I talk about a lot. And I just don't know. I just find it is there. By now, you would think we would have the psychological science to understand humans, like what's the best way to approach them. And I use something that even vegans hate, which is I use shame. And I tell them straight out, if you're not vegan, you're an animal abuser, you're a cruel person, you've made the decision to harm animals, you're no better than Hitler was, who put the Jews in gas chambers. I mean, I say it all. And people are like telling me all the time, like, don't scare people, like don't, like, be nicer. And I just don't believe that being nice works. I mean, it works sometimes, and that's why we have all different. That's why I tell them, you don't like me as a teacher, go to somebody else. Like, but I wish that we knew, because obviously I don't want to be mean. I don't want to use guilt. I don't want to be like this. But I found that is the only way to actually get the attention of people to sort of wave your arms and say, okay, at least now they're paying attention, and they get their they roll up their sleeves to fight me. And then I sort of try to give them some information in there. Especially the goal is always to show them the documentaries to see what's really going on. But like a channel like yours, for instance, like you should have 1 million followers. Like, you're an ethical vegan doctor. You have so much to offer, because they're not going to dismiss you on, like, for me, they just say, oh, you're so skinny and you look how unhealthy you are. And you're just like literally a doctor saying, oh, you can be healthy.
I think people who want to dismiss, they would dismiss it anyways. I work with, throughout my nonprofit, I work with a lot of places, hospitals especially, to go plant-based, because it's just weird to have cardiovascular patients coming to dining halls in hospitals, and they have like bacon, literally the foods that put them there in the first place. And there is a
Crazy.
cardiologist that I work with. She has 3 board certifications in cardiology, nuclear medicine, and a few things. And she's a professor of university. And when she went to talk to dining halls, they said, "Oh, what do you know about the culture in the South? We love our meat." So no matter, you can have 3 board certification and be a cardiologist, and people
Okay.
still find a reason to dismiss you.
Yeah.
But I do
I
actually
don't know if
think,
you know, but I'm also a registered nurse. I worked as a nurse for like 25 years before becoming a school teacher. And yeah, it doesn't, and you can beg people to change. You can get mad at them. You can reason with them. And the truth is that until they're ready, but this is the mystery, is like, what makes them ready? Like, I wish that we had the science behind that. And we could say, okay, with that type of person who looks this way, like maybe one day we'll have some AI that will detect, okay, that person just flinched a little bit when you said that. So that means that you should use this approach, like be kinder, right? Or that person just did something which shows, no, they're a tough cookie. You got to go after them with that, right for the jugular, like, listen to me. Wouldn't it be
I
great
mean,
if we
those
had that?
things already exist when you think about advertisements. So they look at, your buying pattern and a lot of other things. Do you care about the environment? Have you clicked on more things about the environment? Are you looking
Right.
for pills about, health and supplements? Or are you watching a lot of like cute cats and dogs? So that's actually not that hard to do. But I would say that I actually agree with you that shame is a powerful tool, not in a sense that I don't mean that just like shaming people, but even like internally. Every time that we did something different and we decided to morally advance, that was because internally we felt inconvenient. So no one would want to change if they don't feel like inconvenient. So if you're comfortable where you are, why would you want to change at all, right? So the necessity of change comes from the fact that you think that something is wrong and you feel conflicted about that. So that is actually essential to change. And um, a lot of other, so I honestly think a lot of people consume animal products because everyone else does, because it's a norm. And so the opposite of norm is when something becomes shameful. So a lot of people don't do some things that are bad just because they don't want to be shamed. So if and that works, right? So, maybe 10, 20 years ago, smoking was pretty cool. But today, we know that a lot of people have health concerns, but at the same time, it's no longer cool. So the moment that eating meat and consuming animal products be looked down upon, that already helps a lot. To me, it's honestly it's so much worse than littering. Like, imagine if I just like tossed my bottle, right? Everyone is just gonna say, what the hell, dude, grab it. And we always go hundreds of, we go extra mile to make sure we find the trash can. And I always say, if you go a mile to find the trash can and not litter, why not going, an extra mile to find a vegan place, so you're not contributing to not only environmental problems but also literally saving lives. But I
But it's
just add
interesting
that,
that,
I just want to quickly add that um, that shame is good. At the same time, people get defensive really quickly,
yeah,
and it's our job to poke them enough that they're inconvenient, but at the same time they're not, so they don't shut down so quickly that they're not even like able to listen. And we still
right.
have to be able, so we, I mean, I'm not sure about you, but I wasn't vegan forever. I mean, you mentioned like 7 years, right? So um, I was in their place, and I know that there are people who are vegan activists, like my friend that you mentioned, who used to be trolls, right? So we
Yeah.
were in their place. So we always have to remember that when you're in their place, when you love animal
Except,
products, when
except
you
that I
think
was
about
never.
veganism,
I just to interject though. See, I was never a troll. I don't. It's a whole other level of disrespect
No,
and
I know about
craziness.
you.
I mean, we were just more like kind of stunned, right? Like we're like, oh my god, like there's a vegetarian in the room. You have that feeling of like, or vegan or
No,
whatever.
I
But
wasn't a troll either, but I'm saying that there are
yeah,
even people who troll, but now they're on our side. That's a point I was trying to make.
yeah,
And imagine when you're not vegan, and the first thing that you hear about veganism is like all the favorite food that you have to give up, and you're gonna lose your friends, and you have to eat salads for the rest of your life. So that's really what they're thinking.
hmm,
So we just have to give them a little time. But I think telling them one of the most effective ways is to show them the truth, and at the end of the day help them with all the questions. They might have actually genuine questions. My mom literally thought if I don't eat meat I won't make blood. So people
yeah,
might have actual like legit questions. So when you answer
yeah,
them, I think the most important thing at the end is notice, now that I answered your questions, now that you have everything that you need to know, if you decide to have animal products, you are contributing to this animal abuse that you told me that you didn't like. So
right.
that's very powerful, I think.
Yeah. And a lot of adults think that there's cows that naturally give milk and that the cows are going to die if you don't, they're going to explode if you don't milk them. They don't,
Yep.
and it's amazing. I mean, I literally had people who thought that brown cows made chocolate milk. I mean, it's just the stuff that
Oh
people
my
believe
god.
is crazy. Um, yeah. So I just want to touch a little bit on what this organization that you have called ASAP. You want to talk about it? It's written down there. Allied Scholars for Animal Protection. First of all, what do you consider to be a scholar?
That's a good question. I think anyone who is interested in um, basically um, logic and doing
Okay.
better, and um, I think aligning their actions with their values, everyone who's able to think beyond um, norms of the society can. I think everyone who has the capacity to um, think, like, there was a philosopher. So let me just say this, who said we are born, and then when we grow up, it's like all the thoughts and all the habits we have. It's like a basket of apples with like good apples and bad apple. Um, and it's our responsibility to dump this basket, get rid of all the apples, and pick the ones that are good and put them back in the basket.
Okay.
So I think everything that we inherited from society, from our parents, we have a moral obligation to investigate each and
Yeah.
take the ones that are good and get rid of the ones that are harmful. And I think anyone who has that capacity and is
Mhm.
willing to do that, I think is a scholar. But basically, I noticed that in order to change the system, we need really compassionate, dedicated, and serious activists in the position of power. And a
Yeah.
lot of times, these intellectuals come from universities.
Okay.
So universities, there is a group of young students. If they become vegan, they're going to be vegan longer, and they're going to have impactful careers. So that's the best time to reach out to them. And at the same time, I noticed that there is no
Well, what do
coherent
you mean
unit.
when you say young students? What do you mean by young? Because now I thought you were talking about university, but I think we should reach out to them even younger. As you see, like you're sort of on the other end, right? I'm taking them from TikTok when they're 10, and you're sort of trying to talk about. I guess I'm assuming it's in universities, and your
So we
group
do
is
actually
really
work with
trying
high
to.
schools as well,
Okay.
sporadically, but there is also a group that reaches out to high schools. It's called ECP. But you're absolutely right. Universities have this benefit that students are old enough that they're a lot of times living by themselves. So they have like they're
Their
more
own money.
independent, and they're
Yeah.
about to choose careers.
Mm.
So that's a sweet spot, because a lot of times you talk to high school students, they understand, but they're still minors and they still have to live with parents. But we don't have that problem with uh, college students. And again, they're in a, compared to older adults that are at the beginning of their career. So if they understand how they can put veganism and make it their career, that's a significant
What do you mean make it
snowball
their
effect.
career?
So whatever they do, whether they study computer sciences, whether it's STEM, engineering, whether it's biomedical sciences, I make the case that no matter what you are interested in, whether it's environment, whether it's health, whether it's just helping people, the best thing that you can do with your life is to promote veganism. So if you even give zero shit about animals, your only goal is to reduce human suffering. That means that you should be promoting veganism, because top causes of death are cardiovascular diseases, cancer, etc., and they're all linked to animal consumption. That's actually one of the things I wanted to do. The reason I became a biomedical scientist from chemical engineer is because I really wanted to save more people. And to me, cancer was a huge deal. So I did cancer research. Then I did like pandemic research, because like pandemics were killing people. But then at the end of the day, you realize pandemics come to animal consumption. The biggest threat to human life is antibiotic resistance, which comes back to the amount of antibiotics, which is 70 to 80% that we are giving to farm animals. So
Crazy.
any given issue, if you care about the climate, if you care about deforestation, water pollution, soil pollution, it comes down to animal consumption. And
I
to
always
me,
say everything
also,
is connected to it.
yeah, and to me, it's like I have a limited amount of time. What causes the most amount of suffering to everybody? And that's animal consumption. So the case that I make to students is that if you're a medical student, the best thing that you can learn and advocate in your career further on is to become a plant-based advocate. If you're an environmentalist, it would be hypocritical to be an environmentalist if you're consuming animal products. So I try to help them to go vegan, and not only that, but also to use their voice and careers to advance veganism.
One of the things that I thought of when I was sitting in the doctor's office one time, and just, you're sitting there on the little thing and you're waiting for the doctor to come in. You're all by yourself and you're looking around and there's like not much on the walls. I said this to my own doctor, who is vegan, and I said, we need as a collective to have posters made up that are in every single doctor's office that say, did you know that plants have plants have protein, that you can be a healthy vegan, that here's an example of a vegan in the Olympics. Like, you're sitting there anyway, you have this amazing opportunity to reach people without even saying anything while they're waiting, right? So I was, just something that I'm throwing at you if you're ever interested in working, I'm open to working with anybody who needs help. I'm trying to help people get their messages out. And that is just one thing. If you ever are in touch with other doctors and say, like, maybe we can design some posters that can be translated into any language, beautiful, colorful, easy, just you can print them yourself and plastify them, like whatever is easiest that any doctor could do. Press the print button, 10 posters come out, you put them on the walls, and just really basic stuff. And I thought that would be a helpful thing. What do you think?
Absolutely. I think it's important for people to realize that even physicians take precisely zero class on nutrition. There is absolutely no emphasis on preventive medicine. And again, top causes of death, all chronic diseases almost are either linked directly to animal consumption. They can be prevented a lot of times, and in certain cases they can be even reversed. So
and I think what's actually even beneficial about this is that it's almost like the doctor can just point to the poster. It doesn't even have to know, it doesn't have to have learned it before. It can just point at the poster. And if someone says, well, how do I make a smoothie? Oh, here's the poster for the smoothie. You could see here, you have to mix your spinach with this. Here, take some pictures. So you literally encourage your patients to take pictures in the doctor's office of the posters. And like, when you have something in your phone, oh, look what I got at my doctor's office. Like, I just find that would be.
So this program already exists in other ways. It just has to be widespread. But basically, you're absolutely right. the physicians themselves don't necessarily have to be expert. All they have to learn is that when they have a patient, they can refer it to someone else. That's why in our lectures with medical students, we tell them that here are the resources, and I just name a few: Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine, PCRM, is a group that does a lot of that. And then there is American College of Lifestyle Medicine that board certifies physicians. They work with physicians to, in general, know about plant-based nutrition. And at the end of the day, the plant-based dietitian, registered dietitian, has to be a part of the medical group that treats a patient. So it's not gonna, it's a profession by itself. It doesn't come from a physician. So I think it's just important for vegans and non-vegans who are watching this to realize that when they go to a doctor and the doctor gives them nutrition advice, take that with more than one grain of salt, because they likely just know as much as you know about nutrition and supplementation, unless they have studied it.
Or even less, actually. A lot of times
Yeah,
there's
vegans probably know
vegans.
more about nutrition than some of the
Yeah,
doctors.
even vegan kids who've grown up vegan, they often can just spew out a bunch of different facts that they've learned over the years. I wanted to ask you, so about your thing, what it says at the bottom there, Allied Scholars for Animal Protection, what you're trying to do is you're trying to go into these universities and get the cafeterias there. I assume the vending machines as well, that basically it should be a plant-based environment. And I think it's so great, because I've often said too that I even wrote songs about it, that, you know, every school should be like, you know, nothing that's, I mean, I'm not just about health, right? I'm also about I'm really about the animals. So every decision, so you're in a committee, you're going to buy a couch for the school, you're going to make sure it's not a leather couch. Like, so, you know, nothing dead comes through these doors, or at least to the best of our ability. So if you're going to, you know, feed the kids, it has to be no death, no stolen animal body parts, no milk, no eggs, no cheese, no meat. And I
Absolutely.
think if we had that, you just think of it as going, you know, you can't make the kids do something outside of school. You can't make the parent, but you can say, under our roof here, we are going to be, you know, just like you say, there's no smoking in the school. Well, there's no dead animals coming in. Nobody's carting in, you know. So I think that would be a good thing. You can't necessarily start by saying, you know, checking people's lunch boxes. You cannot at the door check kids' lunch boxes, but you can make the policy really clear. And that would be for hospitals and for schools. And I even advocate for that in any kind of religion. I've been to many different churches and different places, summer camps of religion, and I've said, look, you know, this place should be vegan only. There's no reason why not. Why coffee hour should just be plant-based milk only. And it's so easy.
Yeah, so working with dining halls is one of the pillars of my nonprofit. The other two are actually outreach and education and empowerment. So outreach is that we want to be on universities, on campus all the time. So when students cross, they always come across the vegan message, because otherwise there is no unified and organized animal advocacy in universities. And there is a few, and every student group is doing their own thing, but we really want to unify it. We make sure there is ASAP chapter in every university that's always on campus, always talking about veganism. And the second pillar
What would it
is
look like?
education and empowerment.
Okay, so what would that look like?
So
Let's say I go to university. I went to university as an adult to become a school teacher in my early 40s. So I walk into the
yeah,
university, and does it mean that you have a table there all the time, or they have a dedicated office for that? And or do they have
yeah,
these certain posters should be up in every cafeteria? Like what are these elements that are consistent?
yeah, all of them actually. So yeah, there are posters that people can see, but also we have like tables and we have different events. So some of them are debates, like you can't say you love animals and eat them too, or animals deserve to be abused. And a lot of people come and debate us and say no, they shouldn't be abused, and like then you eat them. We have a dog meat event that has been very successful. I really encourage people to check out my YouTube, which is just my name. We just released a video of a guy who came at us, started yelling. In 2 minutes, he went from yelling at us to going vegan when he realized it was a satire. And
Yeah.
My friend made
I
a
guess
really
it's
good point. He
co-ex.
said, all this anger you're feeling right now, that's how you feel about pigs and cows. And
Yeah.
so that's one event. We have human milk. So we give away human milk, and people are like, that's disgusting.
Ew.
It's basically almond milk. But we
Right.
say, well, how is human milk disgusting to you, but not milk of another species? Um, and
Yeah.
and
It
then
is
we
weird.
also
It's so
do
weird.
events where we hold TVs and we show footage of slaughterhouses and other places. A lot of people think these are like very extreme, but in reality, when you do it, a lot of people are shocked. They come by, they have conversations, and they're actually very effective. But the thing is, we don't want these events to be sporadic and you just do it and you go away, but we want to build the vegan community. So
Hmm.
we do that so often that vegans come join us, we grow the vegan community. And the next pillar is education and empowerment. So that's plant-based nutrition, that's talking about the environment, and also, most importantly, helping vegans to discover their skills in outreach. In even a lot of vegans don't really know how to, um, argue points against veganism, because like some of them are, don't think about you and me, like some of them are 18, 19, they've been vegan for 4 months, they're isolated and all their
Yeah.
friends are non-vegans.
Yeah.
They don't really know how to answer a lot of these questions. So we really want to empower vegans,
Hmm.
and also so that they feel the urgency. It's not a
Yeah.
diet, right? It's like literally the
Right.
worst thing that is happening, the most urgent moral urgency of our time we are talking about.
Yeah.
So we really want to help students to feel that urgency so that they can dedicate their careers to it. And this last pillar is, of course, working with dining halls to make veganism more accessible and directly reduce animal product consumption in campuses.
Mm. I'm actually working on a little pocket guide for exactly that reason. I remember when I first became vegan, I I was vegan for the animals and I'd watched a bunch of things, but yeah, you'd get asked a question like the crop death thing, or where do where does B12 really come from? And you're just like, okay, wait, where does it come from again? And then but if you have like a literal pocket guide, like the size, but with every single answer, that can fit into your jean pocket. And so when it comes up, you can just go, oh yeah, that's page, table of contents. Okay, here. And then you can give it to your friend or to read or whatever. And I have a secret dream. Well, secret. I have a dream of having a vegan restaurant where I would have TVs everywhere of, you know, interviews like this with the words going at the bottom on one screen, and then happy animals, just all happy animals, and then just facts like, games like where you could have a big screen, and you would, let's say you and I went to dinner, right? And on the screen would be, in complete silence, a PowerPoint that said a question, and it's like A, B, C, D, right? And then we had to try to see what the right answer. What do you think the answer is? Like, I don't know, how many milligrams of protein are in a cup of lentils, right? And so we'd have to, like, what do you think is that, and then you could play a game against two people, and then it would slowly eliminate the answers, and then you'd have the last answer at the end. And it's just something you could just watch, and you would just be so fun. I have so many great ideas for a vegan restaurant. I hate cooking. I just want someone else to do the work, and I'll just do the advertisement. So I'm putting that out there. If anybody wants to start a vegan restaurant, I have so many cool ideas. Yeah. So what about you? What kind of what kind of plans do you have for the next few years, or sort of dreams do you have?
Uh, Throughout my advocacy in universities, I've come across a lot of students whom I was able to completely change their lives. And today, they are dedicating their lives to veganism just because, I happen to be there at the right time, at the right place. And a lot of people write to me on Instagram, on Twitter, on over YouTube. They say, or email me. They say like they became vegan and now they're dedicating their lives to this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the best thing that I can ask for my life.
It is.
Just knowing that all I want is that when I'm asleep, which is not that much, I know that I've made people who are vegan today and they are continuing that path
Mm-hmm.
forward. And really, I noticed that the best place to do this is in universities, because you have a lot of these open-minded young students. And knowing that when I'm not there, a lot of these talented, students just go do anything. But if I were there, maybe I could have motivated them to come our side and just like join the movement. That fire keeps me going. So really, my dream is to make sure that 4 years, 5 years from now, every university, every campus has an allied scholars chapter where, whether you're vegan or not, you know about this chapter, you know that there is a group of vegan students. No matter if you're new to veganism, you already have heard of ASAP. So you go there, you get your support, you find careers, you get training, you become activists. Because I
How
really
can
think
I
at
help
this
you?
point we don't need more vegans, we need more vocal vegans.
How can I help you?
Um, well,
You don't have to tell me right
I
now, but
think,
if you think it's something, you just send me an Instagram, whatever, to say, look, can you advertise this particular video or whatever? Especially, I like to evaluate. I don't know if you've seen my YouTube channel much, but I like to evaluate videos. So if you have a particular video that's like 3 minutes long or something where you want it, you say, Miss Katie, can you please give me an evaluation? I'll give you an evaluation, and I'll be honest. Maybe there's something I would have changed, but if you want to talk about Allied Scholars for Animal Protection, if I can help you in any way. For example, what would we tell people to look for? What is the address on the internet if they want more information?
yeah, absolutely. So you see Allied Scholars in the bottom. So it's just alliedscholars.org. That's our website.
Okay.
But if anyone searches my name or goes to my YouTube or any other social media, which is all my name, Dr. Faraz Harsini, without the dot, so DrFarazHarsini, you see my YouTube channel or any other social media, Twitter as well. And but yeah, the best way to help me, to be honest, is with monthly donations, and that's the reason for that is because, and we are a tax exempt nonprofit in the U.S. The reason for that is we need to expand our team and have boots on the ground. That means that we have to support students in their campuses to do events. Without boots on the ground, without us traveling to go to every single campus, if you do that virtually, you're going to lose that actual connection on the ground, and that doesn't work. People have tried that, and that fails every single time. And that's why we really need to be able to afford going to every campus and help students. And these events, as you can see, cost something. So helping us to afford this cost would be the best thing that I can ask for. And I can say that for the next semester, we have a lot of events scheduled, a lot of dog meat events that we're going to do in Harvard, MIT, Columbia, Texas Tech.
So the money goes
Texas
to
A&M.
simple things like getting a table, buying the non-dog meat, but and then setting it up, posters, maybe some kind of uniforms that they wear to look, that all that stuff. Is that right?
Absolutely. So graphic designers that design the posters, and something we
Yeah.
are trying to do is to make it really easy for students, because the students don't have time. So the
Right.
idea here is we get everything done. We
Yeah.
help with everything so students can just be on the ground that day and do it. We also pay stipends to student leaders who run the chapter as just like a compensation for their time. It's not much, but
How much
so
is
that
it?
pays for
Can I
that.
ask how much it is?
So it's between 500 to 750 per semester for one student who dedicates an entire semester to running these. And that's pretty typical. I used to be a PETA campus representative, and other organizations pay about the same. So it's really not much when you think about hours, but it's kind of, for a lot of students, it's something. So that's like a way. But yeah, so paying for graphic designers, students, traveling cost. So a lot of times we have our team, we have to be to afford. And in the US, as you probably know, every flight ticket is like $300. So for us to be able to travel and do all these events. But yeah, you can check out our YouTube as well. and you can see like
Okay.
what the dog meat event looks like, and yeah.
Right. Okay. Great. I'm in Italy now. We moved here, and I don't know what the nearest university is, but anyway, maybe I could do something, translate things in Italian. I don't know.
What
Just
took
even
you
hand
to
out.
Italy?
What's that?
What took you to Italy?
Oh, my husband's Italian and we're Canadian. We live in Montreal, but at the beginning of COVID, I don't know if you remember, but at the north of Italy, it was quite scary, and she's by herself. So we said, "Come and live with us." So she hopped on a plane real quick and came to Canada. So in case something happened, we would have her. And she lived with us for 3 years, and then COVID was over, and she said, "Well, how about you come to Italy now?" But she
Yeah,
gradually started to lose her memory a little bit, and so anyway, here we are. We're in a small condo, her condo, and we're trying to find our own place, and we're committed to come here for a couple of years to take care of her, to make sure that she's okay. So we'll
that's
see.
good.
Yeah.
But here is another reminder for people that a lot of these pandemics, including COVID-19, a lot of cases of influenza. Right now, we have an influenza going on, bird flu in the US. 60 million birds had to be killed
It's
in horrifying
astronomical.
ways. Yeah,
Just
these numbers are so huge
I
that it
can't
just don't make any sense
I can't
anymore.
even I can't even picture how many that is, and it's so awful. I mean, you could say that they were going to die anyway, but it's just they didn't have to.
Yeah,
So,
and all of that
um,
comes back to consuming animals.
yeah,
And
because of animals being too close together and us it's not natural the way that we breed them into existence, keep them in confined places, and just live a life of hell their whole lives. It's devastatingly awful, and I have a hard time with it. I suffer from dystopia, the anguish of being vegan in a non-vegan world. I find it hard to look around and see so much death everywhere. And here in Italy, at least where we're living right now, in this, it's a smaller town, the vegan options are like not very many. So yeah.
but I admire that. So I want to acknowledge that you clearly still feel that in your heart, and I do too. Reading a lot of troll comments, it's not easy sometimes. I'm a human. I have feelings, and my feelings are hurt sometimes. But I want to say that for a lot of vegans who feel like overwhelmed, that um, really it's about a movement way bigger than us. And it's
Mhm.
okay to feel sad. It's okay to let emotions pass through you, but don't let them paralyze you. At the end of the
Exactly.
day, animals have it way harder than us. And if you get paralyzed, if you let them get into you, then
Mhm.
animals just lost an ally. And so we can't afford that. So
Right.
it's
So
okay.
that's the edge. I live on that edge all the time because I do cry often, because I see so much violence, and it's more just I see the violence because I watch what's going on, all the undercover footage, and I need to know what goes on, but at the same time I find myself like I have to cover the screen, and I can't breathe sometimes. Like, it really, really affects me. And so for me to, like, when I had my channels taken down, that was devastating, because I always felt, well, at least I'm doing something. And when they do that, like right now I have, I think it's 167,000 followers on TikTok. And at any time that it could be taken down. And that's the sad thing for me, is that I feel like then I've lost this ability to reach people. So I'm trying all different things. I'm often, I took a break from interviewing people. Right now I'd like to try to get back into it, maybe try to do one a week like this. So if you know of any vegans who need to have their presence magnified, I don't have that many followers, but I would serve you to give you a 1 hour podium to say whatever you want, and just kind of put it out there. That's what I can do. So if you know any colleagues or people that are awesome vegans who deserve to have people know about them, by all means, if anybody's listening and you want me to interview you, I'm here. That's what I'm kind of trying to do. And so thank you so much for being here. It's been great getting to know you, and maybe we'll talk again at some point.
My pleasure. I just want to say that for those who are listening, don't feel overwhelmed. Know that um, every person you ever admired, Gandhi, MLK, just think about anyone that you admired. What you are admiring in them is that they didn't compromise for the victims, and they said the truth exactly as it needed to be said, and they did what needed to be done. They didn't do something they wanted to do, they did something that needed to be done. So know
Yeah.
that you have the same qualities in you, and uh, it can be overwhelming, but just whatever you do, say something. We don't need more vegans, we need more active people who defend animals. And so use your voice. Anything that you do, write a review, whatever it is, it
Yeah.
matters. Just know that in the face of injustice, silence is not an option.
100% agree. And I just painted this myself. You could just write it with a pencil and just go over with a tiny little brush. I mean, you can just it reminds people that vegans exist. I have all kinds of them. I have some that are much stronger messages, and the animal holocaust, because I believe it takes 100 clicks to become vegan. This is what I say all the time. And that this conversation here might just be the first click for somebody. They might have just been flipping through and just being like, somehow it ended up there. What? Who are these people? And then for somebody else, this might be the 100th click. They might have watched your channel and my channel. And then finally, they might have seen a vegan message, a vegan commercial, a vegan burger in a restaurant, a pamphlet, anything. Every little bit helps. And that I'm quite sure that we have helped somebody become vegan today because of this conversation. So thanks again for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Let's keep in touch.
Absolutely.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye bye.